And welcome back to the 1313 podcast, the most mediocre podcast in the Star Wars universe. I'm Jacob.
I'm Jackson.
I'm Tommy.
Welcome back, all you Regs, and to all you Shinies. Welcome to the podcast. This is the podcast. Please, before we begin, if you haven't already, make sure that you're subscribed to us. Link is in the buttons below. Also, like and comment on this video because we appreciate your feedback. We really like it. Also, if you haven't already, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And then we also have merch linked below. And then we also have a Patreon where we do lots of cool stuff. And if you're in our Gungan Boss tier, that 1313 tier, we do giveaways at the first of every single month. And on the 1st of February, we're going to be giving away this 501st Battle Pack. So if you haven't gotten your hands on this already, and you can't find it in stores, and it's still on back order, why not just support us on Patreon for your chance to win this set. Boys, how are we doing this week?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm back in the rhythm, back in the gym, back in school.
Yep.
This is it. Everything's winding down.
Second semester, week 2. Everything's going okay. Today's actually went by really fast for me. It's my short day, but usually it doesn't feel short because I go to forensics, to politics, to finite math, and usually all the classes make me want to bash my head against the wall, but it actually went by pretty quickly today.
That's good.
So.
I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, no, for me, it's like my days are just really busy. I feel very productive every day, but it's just a lot of like come and go. Like I'm always going somewhere and doing something. So the podcast is nice for me to sit down and just decompress for a little bit.
How about you?
Week's been a little bit hectic. I'm just glad that it's over. Sorry, I'm currently setting something down. I was supposed to run a PT tomorrow, and it was going to be an outside run, but now they're forcing me to make it go indoors because we can't run in the snow because it might be too cold. That's all I'm going to say on that. But at any rate...
Army kind of soft.
The people in my company kind of soft. Not going to cap. That's all I'll say on it. But... at any rate, I mean, it's been okay. I'm just glad it's finally the weekend. The weeks are shooting by a little bit quicker. I'm excited for the mini that I have. That's Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. It's only the one class I have that day. It'll be done in March. So I'll have those days completely open going forward, which will be awesome. But I feel like my schedule this semester compared to last semester is so much better for the podcast anyway. Just because now I feel like I have time to go to class, get my stuff done, and just breathe. And like do the podcast, not worry about all this other stuff. That was our biggest thing last semester, at least, is that we all got caught up doing a bunch of stuff. But now I feel like it's fine. And it just feels great to do the show now.
Yeah, it's nice for me because the only time consuming part of my classes last semester was because I had like drawing, like studio classes. The only one I have that's relatively close to that is I have like 3-dimensional design where it's building sculptures and things like that. So like I had to like cut out and like paper craft a bunch of different shapes for homework, which was like made me want to bash my head against the wall. Because after going to a college prep school where you take all honors classes and all APs, and then you go to college to cut out paper shapes, I'm like, what am I doing with my life? But the end goal is to work on movies. So we got to keep that in mind and make billions of dollars while making Star Wars.
Heck yeah.
I've for my 4-dimensional design class, I have this project that we have to do, and we had to pick from the slate of 4-dimensional artists. And 4D art is the passage of time in the in the art, or like some other form. And we had to pick from this list that the teacher gave us. And this teacher is the lowest rated professor on campus. She has a 2.2.
Wow.
She's awful. She's senile. She belongs in a nursing home. I hate her. I hope she sees this video. And
wow.
We have in the list of stuff that we had to do, there was one piece called Pissed. And I was like, oh, let me look up to see what Pissed is. And it's a 200-gallon of somebody's piss that they put in an art museum. And I said, this is funny. I'll do my research on this. Come to find out that there was a performance aspect to this project that I have to do a report on. And that performance was them standing on a platform in front of a group of people peeing in a bottle.
I do that for free, bro. What?
That's
so
wow.
It and there was like a Vice video article about it that I had to watch for the research, and it is the sound of them pissing in a bottle made me want to throw up. And they had like these like gallon like drums of like piss.
It's actually sounds kind of tasty. I'm a little bit.
Well, the fact that they were all wearing gas
salty
masks and stuff while they were doing everything like lets you know how foul it smelled. So I was like, this is a little too much. It was either that, the two I found funny was that one, and there was one called Man Pretends to Be Rock, and it's just a picture of like a naked dude on the ground like this with wax all over his back. And I was like, this is art. This is the one I wanted to do. Was this guy that did like flower graves in like random spots, so it would be like a plane, and then there'd just be like this like really nicely patch of like flowers and stuff that were like growing like from these random places, and like he would take photographs of them, and I was like, oh, that's great. And then the person sitting right next to me took it, and I was like, ah. So now I'm doing piss.
TMI.
No,
Rest in piss, you won't be missed.
literally, like the cube is like, it's like literally bigger than my arm span.
The cubba?
It's the piss cubba. That's what it is.
The piss cubba.
Anyway.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, there's not really much else going on that's new. I'm making some modifications to my armor for an event that I'm going to.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be my first official 501st Trooping event in 2-ish weeks. Well, yeah, like a week and a half. I'm very excited. It's going to be fun.
What are you doing tomorrow? What you doing
tomorrow? I'm working. No, yeah, I got class and I work and I'm playing D&D. That's what I'm doing. And Hybrid's coming. Hybrid toy reviews.
I'm going to hang out with Hybrid. What are you doing tomorrow morning?
Boyfriend.
What are you doing tomorrow morning?
I have presentations to give.
How about Saturday morning?
I'm working.
Like morning. Like before 9 o'clock.
No, I'm not getting up before 9 o'clock on Saturday.
I'm doing my best to get this photo shoot for you, dog. There's no way that we're going to get this done.
I just simply...
We need the weather.
No.
We need the weather.
Anyways.
But at any rate.
No card for you.
So this is a really dry week for Star Wars. No news, no rumors. Mando's creeping up on us. It's about a month away. So the hype is growing for that. I can't wait to do 2 podcasts a week for 5 weeks. I'm actually kind of excited for it. You know, just
we'll see how it goes.
It'll be cool because by the time Mando comes out, at least for me, I won't have anything to do on a Wednesday. So I'll be able to watch Bad Batch and Mando back to back with no repercussions or worrying about anything else going on. But it's just the fact that it's like, we have to do 2 in a day and then remember everything from both. But I am excited for Mando season 3.
I'm going to have to wake up at 3 o'clock to watch them. Like
That's the only way. This is the way.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to, but
I'm excited because it's going to be like fun to have 2 different shows that I can talk about each week instead of like just trying to cram everything all in one. And we've never covered Mando on the podcast before, so I'm also excited for that. It's like the magnum opus of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I thought we did season 2.
Mm-mm.
No, wait, that was Book of Boba.
We did Book of Boba.
Mando season 2.5.
Yeah.
I can't wait for those videos to get no views.
Haha. That's okay.
Anyway, we got another episode of the mid batch this week.
No, it's not mid.
I liked it.
It's not mid.
I have a very hard statement about it, though. Okay.
Right. Jackson's very heartfelt statement is the
season
same one he
2
said last week.
No, it isn't actually.
Season 2, episode 5 of the Bad Batch, entitled "Entombed."
Indiana,
and we have
Omega Jones,
Wanda Sykes.
This is something we can all agree on. I don't care about her character.
I share Hunter's extreme distaste for Wanda Sykes. Her name is Fee, is her character's name, and I'm really glad that there is a character in the show that also dislikes her and finds her annoying, and it's not just me, because it just, this is just, I mean,
I don't get it. Yeah. Why, if you wanted to introduce a pirate character, why introduce one halfway through a season with a show that's been riddled with cameos?
Why not have Hondo?
Why not bring Hondo in?
This was literally just you could have plugged
moment.
You could have plugged Hondo Ohnaka into her place, and it would have been more enjoyable.
Well, not just that, people would have actually been like, "Oh my gosh, it's Hondo," because Hondo is a fan favorite character. So
it makes sense of what he would do.
It's just dumb.
But
what was your statement, Jackson?
Okay, so beyond that, here's what I have to say about these episodes of the Bad Batch as well. So when you look at the schedule 2, what's coming up, you and I were discussing that.
Oh, yeah.
Then there is one more episode before we reach that 2-part mid-season finale, which is the Clone Conspiracy. So that's going to be the one that's going to round us right back to the Empire plot with the clones, I feel like. But for now, I feel like with how the episodes have been progressing, they want us to understand that Bad Batch Season 2 is not about... solely about, I should say, the transition of the Republic to the Empire and of the phasing out of clones and the clone civil war and whatnot. That's something that we have really manifested ourselves into what we want it to be. Season 2 of the Bad Batch is, okay, now where do we go after doing jobs for Sid our entire life? What are things that interest us? So last week we had tech. seeing that, okay, maybe racing is a fun thing I can do. And now you have the Bad Batch on a treasure hunt, which is something they've never done before. And that's an okay.
They did that the first episode. They went and got treasure from.
That's a little different. That was like they knew exactly what they were getting and where they were getting it. This was this was like Star Wars meets the Goonies meets Indiana Jones.
And this wasn't a job for Sid either. This is something they had their own free will to do.
Job for fee.
Yeah.
But then of course the second they picked up, my dad and I kept calling it the Arkenstone from The Hobbit. But the second they picked that thing up, I was like, they're going to lose that and get no money. Like that's the trope of the bad. That's the one thing with the Bad Batch that I do complain about. And it's the now trope of every time they're about to get some sort of wealth or riches, it slips out of their fingers. And it just happens I don't think it's ever worked out for them one time.
Nope.
No, it's kind of annoying.
Maybe once, maybe in season 1. But
here's my rebuttal to Jackson's statement, though. In a show about ex-soldiers going into the galaxy that is now ridden by a tyrannical government and an empire that is working on oppressing every single person in the galaxy, I don't care what the Bad Batch like. I don't care that Omega's like knitting is fun and Tech is like racing is cool. I don't care. Like that's something that you progress on. Final episode, they get their goodbyes if they're not dead, and then they're like, this person went off to do this, and then this person went off to do this. This isn't something that like mid-season in a show that's about the Empire's now taking over the galaxy. This is the beginning of them overstepping their bounds, and everybody's starting to go, maybe the Empire isn't that great, and everybody's starting to just kind of be like, oh no, what have we gotten ourselves into? I don't think that's the best time to be like, and Tech likes to race, and Omega likes to hunt for treasure, and I just don't think it does. It doesn't make sense to me.
I think Jacob thought we were watching Andor, and that's why he doesn't like it.
Because
that's what that is doing. This is doing something different.
No, because you can do this. You can do this and still, in some ways, progress the story. Like Episode 1. Episode 1 was a side trail, and the very last moment of the side trail progressed the main story a little bit. You could do that with this, instead of it just being like, there's no track on the main story whatsoever for these. Like, at all. Not mention of it, not a wink of it, not a blink of it. They don't even say Empire. It's just... they go and do something completely... that's my problem. It's something completely random. I didn't hate the episode. I thought the content of the episode was fun. I don't understand why they have to completely, like, derail the main story and have nothing to, like, really contribute to it. It doesn't make any sense to me in the storytelling, like, at all.
I think it's the fact that it's a kid's show. That it's like that. This isn't the mature content like Andor, where it's supposed to be the action every episode too. And like I was saying, they're very much making it obvious that the clone stuff isn't the central focus of what the Bad Batch Season 2 is about.
I still kind of find it hard to call this show a kid's show, because when we look at it, this is a show that's coming out week to week on a streaming platform. When I think of, let's be honest, kids nowadays, they don't have the attention span to sit down and watch a show. Kids are on TikTok, kids are on Instagram, kids are playing Roblox. I've never heard of one small child being like, I'm watching the Bad Batch, unless this is something that their parents are like, yeah, but his parents like Star Wars and they're watching it together. This is not something that like kids are like going out of the way to watch by themselves. This is something that parents are watching and their kids are watching it with them. So I get kiddie content for that, but basing it and just saying, oh, we're not contributing to the main story whatsoever because it's a kid's show, I feel like is a weak argument.
I'm gonna pipe up a little bit. I think I disagree with this is like that kids don't watch TV like they used to. I get what you're saying about the TikTok and like a lot of kids watch YouTube and stuff like that, but streaming services now are like basically like taking Cartoon Network everywhere you go. We talk about the tablet kids all the time. The Bad Batch is a show that kids can watch on their tablet on the go. And that's, again, it's an animated show. It's a cartoon. And I think tonally it matches the Clone Wars in a lot of ways, because you have your serious moments. We talked about this a little last week. Like, you have your moments in your episodes that are very serious and very heavy, very plot driven. But then you have your arcs and episodes that are spruced, that are spotted among the main story and the big characters, and they're really just derailing off the main story and the main conflict, and they have nothing to do whatsoever with that. There are some episodes where there's no Anakin, no Ahsoka, no Rex, no nothing, and you just have a random group of characters do a random side mission that has no contribution to the bigger conflict. With this episode, I liked it. I felt like it had less to do with the Empire and more to do with the namesake of the show, the Bad Batch. I think that the show is about the Bad Batch. I think that we're at a point where, yes, we've seen characters struggle, and yes, we've seen the characters go through some development, but
I don't know why it turned on. It was off all decas. Touched it.
But what I think is going on with the Bad Batch is we met them in season 7 of the Clone Wars. And as fans, we knew who they were before season 7 of the Clone Wars from like unreleased like episode content. But you get introduced to them in like an arc of 4 episodes, and you get, the trope of what each character does. They have like a little thing, a little, gimmick. And then getting into the show, you do have plot points in the first season. Like they're experiencing the immediate change from the Republic to the Empire. And because they're not like the rest of the clones, under the influence of the inhibitor chip, they are able to break away and get away. You have Wrecker and that whole conflict with him and the inhibitor chip malfunctioning when he hits his head so many times. And then there's episodes like the Ryloth episode where you kind of have, that was the mid-season finale there. Or no, it was towards the end of the show. Yeah, it was towards the end. Mm-hmm. We have the Ryloth episode with Captain Hauser. This show is sprinkling in moments and bits where, and like the chain codes and all that. Not chain codes. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning.
Chain code, yeah. There's just moments and there's episodes where you see that this is no longer a free republic. This is an oppressive empire. And you do see, and I think we're at a point now where we're so familiar with certain aspects of these shows and Star Wars and the Empire that like we kind of forget that it is a form of an oppressive empire versus the Free Republic. Whereas like the first couple episodes, the clone troopers are now Imperial soldiers. I forget that from time to time. I have to actually remind myself that these are Imperial soldiers working for the Empire. With the third episode, I think that episode was a lot less about Commander Cody, and I do think he's important to the story, and he's going to circle around later, but I think that was more to just show us as the viewers where Crosshair is and what he's dealing with as an individual, so that when these characters cross paths again, we have a little bit more insight. It's not just like, Crosshair bad guy, because we really need to establish that Crosshair is not a villain in this show, in my opinion.
He's an anti-hero of some sort. But, yeah. When you were talking about the Clone Wars and how it's had bits where it's like it wasn't necessarily like main story action pack, yeah, that happens. But I'm thinking with the Clone Wars, even if an episode wasn't directly having like Anakin, Ahsoka, and all the clones in it, it was some character, and it was building on said character. I feel like this episode that we've had with the Bad Batch, it's a side. I feel like the Bad Batch have kind of reached their peak in like what their characters are for now, and it's hard to see like where their development is going because they're not really changing as people. They're just kind of drifting. This whole episode really just felt like a way to serve Wanda Sykes' character and try to introduce who she is rather than like her just opening line at the beginning. Yeah. But the problem is that off the rip, we don't like her character.
No.
So I feel like that's another reason why this episode falls flat, because I know it's the same thing that they did with Sid in the last episode. They're building on characters I don't want built on because I want the story to move away from them. So having to sit there and have to be like, okay, these characters are going to be more prevalent in the show, I feel is like another factor that's making me upset.
Your favorite Bad Batch member agrees with you, Jacob.
Yeah.
Echo is, and again, I think that maybe that's
why I'm the Echo of the group, because I just want them to go away.
Maybe that's part of it, though, because I think what's pulling, I think maybe I talked to Jackson about, Jackson and I work together, like on the day Bad Batch comes out, so we get to kind of have like a brief conversation.
I talked to Nobi about it all week.
We do try to limit it, though. Okay, where I'm at, though, is, let me try and rehash this point. So Hunter is kind of holding the Bad Batch back to their full potential. And it's because he wants Omega not to be a part of this huge conflict where they're fighting and fighting and fighting against, this big giant regime, because think about how much they were being chased by the Empire in the first season. And that was really stressful for the whole team. That was stressful for Omega, and even up to the Camino arc. That was like a lot for a kid, because she is a kid, to deal with. So I think for Hunter, this is like the better option, but it's holding the team back from what their full potential is and what they're made for, which is they're soldiers. They're made to fight. And I think Echo is trying to explain this to Hunter, and we saw it towards the end of season 1, where they're on Tanis, and we've seen it again in this season in the first couple episodes, where he's saying to Hunter, we need to be doing more. I think Echo realizes the reality that, maybe this is not the life for Omega, but we are soldiers. This is all we've ever known. We can't just adapt like that. We have to use our skill sets and do good for the galaxy. So I think that there has to be something that happens later in this season that makes Hunter have that aha moment. And maybe it's Rex reaching out. We've seen in the trailer, Rex reaches out to them.
You boys ready for a mission?
Maybe it's to find Cody. Maybe they need to pick up Cody. He's been captured or something, like, you know what I mean? Maybe Cody's in prison. I think that throwaway line from Rampart was too simple.
That back end one of like, why is it everybody that works with you goes AWOL?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There's so many possibilities of what the story could do, and you could build on little bits of it. Even with these side fun episodes, you could throw in just a morsel to keep the audience, like, that's why people had problems with it last season. They're like, there's not morsels to the main story. But because these characters were still relatively fresh, it was character building rather than filler. Now that these characters are built, it feels a lot more like filler than character building to me. And this is somebody that loves Bad Batch Season 1 and loves the Clone Wars, which is filled with episodes that can be considered filler, but they're character building. It's just the fact that they're building on characters that nobody really cares about. That's what makes it feel like filler to me. And that's why I'm like about it all the time.
See, part of what I feel like was the most important part of the episode as well was in the world building that we saw, where it's this brand new planet.
Horizon.
And yes, laser
Horizon tall neck. Yep.
Laser space giraffe. I feel like the fact that this was introduced only really for about a minute or two, and then it was destroyed and then just like almost forgotten. I feel like they are going to relate this to some other project later down the line, whether if it's in this sequel stuff with Mando or if it's in a Old Republic thing that they do at some point.
Acolyte.
Well, for the even for
Acolyte is the only way I could see this coming into play.
Because why the heck are there giant robotic space giraffes shooting lasers that can destroy entire planets? Like, what probably happened to that planet? R.I.P. Wanda's droid. That was really funny when it died, though.
Why is it that technology in Star Wars goes from looking really new to like really old, even though time is moving forward? You would think the opposite would
actually have a reason for that.
Well, it's because of materials are like hard to come by, so like the rebels have just kind of like makeshift stuff. But it's like even like Space Giraffe versus Imperial AT-AT.
I mean, I was going to talk about it from like Doug Chiang, who has done a lot of the art since like the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
The way he and George Lucas envisioned it was stuff that was earlier. Think about like in the 20s to the 50s, where everything was trying to be really streamlined and really, lots of curves and edges and fun, bright colors. And then the original trilogy is like the Vietnam era, where everything is very like gray and bland and boxy and things like that. That is what Doug Chiang has said about the art style. So that for me is how I always rationalize.
But I'm talking about Space Giraffe. Space Giraffe looks rather complex.
Yes, it does.
Compared to an AT-AT.
Probably made by it's like, it reminded me most of Zepho from JFO.
It really did,
if you remember that. It's probably some ancient something people that we have never seen before that were able to manufacture that in the first place. And they probably made more than one. That planet is toasted. There were probably multiple of those.
I was saying to Jackson, I think that the big giraffe, I keep calling it the tall neck from Horizon, because that's second it stood up. The second it stood up, I was like, that is exactly that. But for me, I saw it as like the equivalent to like a nuke, like basically like, because this whole planet is ravaged. You can like, my assumption is that there's a lot of wars that have happened on this planet. All the vegetation is dead. The landscape is barren. And then you have this giant machine that's kind of like a kill switch, like an Armageddon machine, you know, an apocalypse machine. It's because its only purpose is to just aimlessly destroy everything.
Yep.
So I think that that's what its purpose was. No one knows for sure though, but that's kind of where I am with it.
I'm not mad about it. It's just cool technology things that are like, ooh,
it was dope. I gotta say, it was really cool.
I like design and things like that, and I hope someday, in some way, it gets put into like a video game, preferably a VR game, because that's one tool that's fantastic with VR is that you get the sense of scale of everything. There's this game on the Oculus store that I just found that it's called Contractors. And it's $20. So I haven't bought it yet because my paycheck hasn't come. But they open sourced the mods publicly to everybody so they can just implement things into the game. And people added a original Battlefront mod.
I saw that.
So you can play the OG Battlefront in this VR game. So I'm gonna be copping that. I'm gonna be copping that when it comes. But again, I wish that they would implement things like that into a game so you can like look it up and be like, whoa, this is big. It's why I wish Squadrons had native support on the Oculus, or the Xbox ended up doing like what PlayStation VR is doing, because a game like Squadrons is made for VR because you're in a cockpit. It's all first person. You have to press some weird ass button to look around, and then you have to unpress the button to go back to normal, which is a terrible control thing. Yeah, that game, we're not going to talk about that game, but it sucks.
None of us like that game.
No. That was something that was cool about Vader Immortal. Was the fact that the Sword Art Online game was the worst pre-order ever. But that was cool about Vader Immortal because you had the scale of Darth Vader actually towering over you the entire time, and then like you had like Vader's castle and it being ginormous. Things like that were like what made that game like super cool. So give me tall neck giraffe Star Wars thing in another game.
I really like that dragon thing too that they were fighting.
That was weird, yeah.
Dude, there was a moment.
It looked a lot like the one that they had on the slaving planet from last season.
I know what you mean, but
like the flying squirrel.
Thing, I thought it looked a lot like the dragon from that when they were on that. It was like the third episode of the Bad Batch, or the second episode where like Omega has the flashlight and the power cell is missing.
No, that one was more like
I didn't think it looked like that.
It was like a more dog thing. No. It looks more like looks more like the Tusken Raider dogs more than anything.
Yeah, I guess. But the
cool new alien.
Yeah, but I thought it was hilarious when it like picks up Wrecker and Wrecker's punching it in the face.
Yeah.
And he rips its horn off. I thought that was pretty funny. Because again, it's like so many times in these shows, like I was fully expecting it to pick up Wrecker. Oh no, we have to go get Wrecker now. Yep. Let's go find Wrecker. But they actually handled the situation. And I feel like there are some times in the show where we really downplay how actually good at the Bad Batch is at what they do.
Yeah.
Which is fighting. Like the whole thing. I mean, if you watch Clone Wars Season 7 where they get introduced and then you watch the Bad Batch, you would think like you wouldn't even think they're the same characters. Like there are episodes of the Bad Batch where they're such bumbling idiots that I'm like, what? Like is this even the same group we saw in Clone Wars Season 7? Like it's so frustrating.
Or even Bad Batch Season 1 where they literally come in and they take out an entire droid army by themselves.
Yeah.
Like that's another problem with it being like labeled a cartoon and in kid shows. They have to have some slapstick and they have to play it up for a younger audience when it doesn't fit like what the characters like really are. It would make sense if like their shortcomings were more enacted on them rather than just kind of silly, but you can't really do anything about that.
Yeah, it's like it's so frustrating.
One thing that annoyed me with this episode though was the fact that at one point they get separated and they're like, we have to go through these tunnels. And they're like, oh, they're going to get separated. It's going to lead into like this thing where they're going to fight the monster while these other characters are doing this. Nope, they just go around a corner and they go, oh, hey, guys. Like, it led to nothing. Yeah. It was literally nothing.
I think that was a way to separate so that it was Hunter having to deal with Fee and realizing that he needs to trust her so that he can save her at the end. And now they have mutual trust. Wow. I it's just little things like that. It was stuff like that like I enjoyed the episode. I thought it was a lot of fun. Yeah. A lot of Indiana Jones moments. If you've ever seen the Goonies.
And the music too.
Yes.
The music too was so Raiders of the Lost Ark. So Raiders.
But it also reminded me a lot of The Hobbit. If you've ever read The Hobbit or watched the movies. Like specifically where they're opening the secret door on the side of the mountain and then there's the dragon and they're going to get the heart of the mountain. I was like, this is just Tolkien, bro. This is straight up just Tolkien.
And might I say, while we're speaking about Tolkien, I'm almost done with Rings of Power, and I just finished episode 5. And the show's been like okay so far. A lot of world building, a lot of character building, and this was the first episode where it was like really like all action. Not only was the action fantastic, there's a part where like the elf character stabs an orc in the eye with a knife, and the orc is like choking him, and he like tries to take the knife out of the orc's eye, and he pulls it out, and blood just starts going everywhere. Like his eye falls out, and there's blood, and it shows all of this. It's super gruesome. There's just blood pouring out of his face, and then the orc takes the blade and like turns on the elf and starts going like this towards his eye. And it's like right here, and it's just hovering there for like a good 10 seconds. And you're just kind of like, oh gosh, is this where he dies? Because they killed off another prominent character like 5 minutes ago. So, no, that show is super good. It's very nice. Yeah. Very good Amazon for dumping $500 million into it.
Okay, so we have one more episode of The Bad Batch before the 2-part mid-season finale.
Isn't the next one called Tribe?
The next episode is called Tribe.
It's going to have nothing to do.
It will probably have nothing to do with the main plot.
My prediction is that this is going to be where we see Gunji and the Kashyyyk are like scenes from the trailers. I think that this is because it's going to be about maybe a tribe of Wookiees or something like that. Maybe. I really, really hope that it's not like, again, because I do defend the Bad Batch in the sense that, yes, it is about the Bad Batch. So it doesn't always have to be about the Empire, even though it's being set up to be a big overarching like conflict of the show. Mm-hmm. You do sometimes need a break from that main central conflict. But
we've had 2 breaks now.
For me, it's like, please God, like I watch this show week to week, and like if I see a 2 in a row, I'm fine with. But if I see a 3rd episode in a row where it's just the Bad Batch get a job from Sid, they go and they do this thing.
That will be like, inexcusable. This next episode
that will break me.
It has to have, because y'all have been defending this tooth and nail. I've been the only one that's been majorly cynical about this, but I feel like if next episode has nothing to do with anything, I feel like y'all will be on my side.
If it's not though, like at least give me something. Like Jacob was saying, at least give me something that I can go into the next episode or later into the season. You know, kind of like with the 3rd episode with the crosshair stuff.
Build on
that was cool. Build on anything, please. Something. I can't do 3 episodes in a row of the Bad Batch goes on silly, goofy, adventure, like with random character that I don't like. You know, first it was I don't care for Sid. I don't really not like her, but Fee, I'm just like, this is such a weird, like such a randomly inserted character. I hope she has some sort of relevance to the story later on, so that it's not just this random character.
She's Trace and Rafa's
dude, because I keep thinking about it. Sitting for 4 weeks straight and watching the Trace and Rafa arc with the Silver Angel. That was some of the most painful Star Wars I've ever had to sit through.
No, you loved it because then you went and built the Silver Angel in our Minecraft server.
Oh yeah, you did. You defended Trace and Rafa tooth and nail, bro, saying that they were the best characters ever.
I just built the ship because I thought it was funny because I know how much everyone hated it.
But you also were defending it.
I could not.
The podcast.
We never recovered that on the podcast.
In personal speakings, you defended it.
I defended maybe the first episode, but once we got to the episode where they literally just I think they got captured 3 times in the same episode in that same cell on what's the planet the Pikes are from? Obadiah. Isn't that it? Dude, that episode, I've watched it again and I'm like, what is this? Like, this is terrible. And I really hope that that's not what happens with the Bad Batch for me, because I love the Bad Batch so much, and that's part of the reason I defend it every week is because I like the show, so I keep finding what's good in it.
This is Tommy's real feelings coming out of him saying he's just defending the show because he likes it. He doesn't actually like these episodes.
Well, I like the show, so I like Tommy the episodes.
Oh yeah,
please.
So you're both with me. You're both with me on this. The episode wasn't that good.
I never said that. But no, that's just at the end of the day, that's how I feel about it. I mean, it's just absolutely killing me. Like, that, please God, like, have something that leads us into this mid-season finale. I need it. I need it to happen. I can't keep doing this.
I'm literally begging.
What could be the thing? Because again, Hunter is the one that's holding the team back right now. What could be the thing that makes Hunter go, oh, we really need to be doing something? Maybe it's like
Hunter gets captured.
Maybe that happened last season.
He gets captured again.
Everybody gets captured but Hunter.
Dude, maybe it's maybe when Hunter realizes what Palpatine's true intentions are with the clone troopers.
What if somebody dies?
What if someone dies?
What if one of the Bad Batch die? What if we get like a Kanan?
Echo
like,
is going to
Screw
be
you,
one to
Jacob.
die.
Echo dies.
I know. If anybody's gonna die, it's gonna be Echo, and I'm gonna be so infuriated.
he's the one
Because not only did you give him a khaki skirt, but now you're gonna kill him.
And a red turtleneck.
That, oh my gosh, his undersuit is so bad. He looks like he's rolling up to Sunday school. It's so bad.
It was with Echo will be the one to die because he's been the one pushing Hunter to do this.
He's the voice of reason,
Yeah.
and the voice of reason always
well, maybe
dies.
that's why he won't die yet. Maybe that'll save him for now. If anyone is gonna die, maybe it's gonna be Wrecker. He's
No,
like the
everybody
fan
loves
favorite.
Wrecker. Nobody loves Echo. They'll be fine getting rid of Echo. The only reason why people like Echo in the slightest is because, they knew him from the Clone Wars.
I don't know, man.
And if I learn
know,
anything from the
man.
ritual, the competent guy dies first. In most horror movies, competent guy, he's got to go because we got to let the stupid people make the mistakes.
Yeah.
So
I really hope that there is like an aha moment. Maybe Hunter realizes because
what if Omega gets captured?
Okay, I saw a theory. Someone was like, "Oh, why if all the clones had to get rid of their markings, like why is they're the 501st clone that Obi-Wan sees and Obi-Wan Kenobi? Maybe like the 50 maybe he deserted." And I was thinking, it can't be that easy because he was just a random clone. My thought is Vader in Legends material, we don't know yet in canon how he felt. Vader had an affinity for the clones. He thought they were far superior to the TK troopers and the conscripts. So in Legends, Vader kept his clone troopers until they were literally just too old to fight anymore, and their bodies started shutting down on them. So my thought is maybe he kept their markings too, because they were called, the 501st is called Vader's Fist during the time of the Empire. So maybe my thought process is because Vader had an affinity for the clones, he let them keep all their 501st markings. And again, the 501st was probably the best legion out of the entire Grand Army of the Republic.
That's something that I would absolutely adore to see in the Bad Batch is if we saw Vader.
Vader with the 501st.
If Vader was in the Bad Batch, though, that would...
Well, because
let's be honest, we have that Vader model in the Clone Wars art style.
Jacob, there's no way they're not
No
going to
way.
use that Vader thing in Bad Batch. They're totally going to use it.
Well, no,
at
that's
some
what I'm
point.
saying.
Yeah.
If they already have this model made, they already have it made. They could definitely use it. And we've seen Palpatine. And guess who's Palpatine's errand boy? Darth Vader.
And again, I just don't... Everything has to come to a head because I feel like we are in this kind of weird gray area. Where Hunter doesn't want to do anything bigger, but,
We're in the Gray
but
Cody
Echo
era.
does. It's like
Hey,
Cody
era.
has disappeared and Crosshair's kind of not knowing what to do next. Rampart is brushing the Bad Batch being alive under the rug and
Tarkin doesn't
pretending they're
know.
dead. And Tarkin doesn't know. So something...
And Mount Tannis has to show up at some point.
And what's going to happen... It's all going to happen all at once. It's not going to happen bit by bit, episode by episode.
No, it's literally I feel like after this mid-series finale, at least I hope it's just boom, 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 boom.
Well,
boom.
actually, I do have the episode titles still on my phone.
I hope they just start bashing you over the head with everything. Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Give me something. Talk real quick while I try to
But
find
no,
it.
I just pray. I pray.
Shut up, Jackson.
Shut up, Jackson. That they start moving at least back a little bit to the main plot in this next episode. It can be a side thing. It can be a side quest. Just contribute just a little bit. Save Empire, and that's all I need.
So the next episode is called Tribe,
Yep.
and then on February 8th, it's going to be the Clone Conspiracy and Truth and Consequences come out on the same day.
Okay.
I think that's going to have something to do... I mean, we know it's going to have something to do with the clones. I think this is going to be where we see Hunter's turning point, where he decides he needs to do something bigger.
Well, because what are the consequences?
Yeah, right? And then after that, the next episodes are called The Crossing, then Retrieval, then...
That's going to be a side mission.
Yeah. Retrieval and The Crossing are totally going to be side missions. And
Unless retrieval means somebody got captured.
then... Yeah. Well, then we have one called Metamorphosis. That could be
means-
symbolic of a lot of things.
Yeah, because metamorphosis is a complete change.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe Omega grows a pair and gets a gun and
Gets
gets,
a
some armor.
Oh.
I'm just glad she's not wearing that dumbass hat.
Yes.
Thank God for
Her
that.
fit is okay.
I'm not saying that Omega's a bad character. I just want to see Omega be a soldier like the rest of the batch.
And then we have...
I feel like it'd be so cool.
Oh, the next one is called The Outpost. So hopefully that's something that has to do with something Clone Wars related. We revisit a place from the Clone Wars. Rishi outpost that destroyed. And then the next one's called Pabu. No idea. That's probably a side mission. And then Tipping Point is the episode 14. And then at the end of March, it's the last 2 episodes come out. The first one's called The Summit, Mount Tannis. And then the last one's called Plan 99. So that's...
Yep.
Oh, so Task Force 99 is going to come in at the very last... So we're not going to get anything of Tannis until the very final 2 episodes?
Well, who knows? We might see it in the mid-season finale because if it has something to do...
We're not going to see it.
Well, remember though, they're pushing back... what was the order in season 1? They're telling all the clones to go to Mount Tannis from Camino. So maybe that's... What if... Okay, this is a morbid theory, but I had this thought the other day.
What if Starkiller comes in to play?
Hear me out. So, Moff Gideon in The Mandalorian, when he's talking about the Dark Troopers and what they are, says that they used to need humans to like pilot them and stuff and control them.
But we already saw Dark Troopers.
Those are the Phase 3 Dark Troopers. There's Phase 1 and Phase 2. Those droids are remotely operated. They're not just like their own autonomous things. Yeah. So, what if they're doing experiments on the clone troopers and like mutilating their bodies to make things like Death Troopers, to make things like some sort of weird like cyborg amalgamation that is like maybe like a Phase 2 Dark Trooper, that in between that we see from what we see in Mando to the very beginning?
What if they're creating the Death Troopers from the book,
or just Death Troopers in general?
Because you have to remember, the Empire doesn't see clones as real beings, and neither do the Kaminoans. And Nala Se will not care one bit if they're mutilating these clones and torturing them. Obviously, I don't want to see that because I love the clones. And I never want to see them get hurt. This is
a kid's show, guys. Remember.
But I think that this really could be a real possibility here. I think it would be. What do you guys think?
I don't think it's going to go that far. If anything, things like that might be implied that it's happening, but I don't know. I don't think they're going to go as far as to be like, yeah, we're cutting up clone troopers and we're like sticking them like Cabbage Patch Kids all together. I don't think that's going to happen.
It's a neat idea, but I feel like they'll be working on something. We did forget to talk about the biggest thing of this episode, though, that you and I talked about at work, and that would be the Zillo Beast. No, I'm joking. We're not going to talk about that at all.
There were theories going around.
We are not going to talk about
this episode was going to have the Zillo Beast.
Why?
I don't know, because the episode was called Entombed.
Well, last time we checked, the Zillo Beast was 6 feet under, so...
Kylo Ren fights a Zillo Beast.
Smoking that Zillo pack.
I thought the Zillo Beasts were like extinct. And
apparently there's another one in one of the comic books and Kylo Ren fights it and kills it.
Oh, weird. So now they definitely are extinct.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I can't believe we stretched this out to 40 minutes.
Well, me neither. It helps a lot when I fight against every word that you guys say for the first 20 minutes.
Oh, I do have something that's totally not Bad Batch related real quick. So the multiplayer game made by Respawn, they just had another hiring come out for multiplayer developers, specifically for developers who have worked on multiplayer titles. So I am guessing that this multiplayer aspect of this game is going to be maybe a little bit bigger than we thought. I thought it was going to be like a Rainbow Six style, like smaller scale multiplayer game. Maybe it's going to be a little bigger than that.
Maybe they learned from Battlefield 5 that just because you have a lot more people in a match doesn't make your game better.
Do you mean Battlefield 2042 or Battlefield 5?
The newest one, whatever.
2042. 2042 is good, though. But
for current gen consoles, if you play on Xbox One like me and Jacob, it's absolutely garbage. Don't waste your money.
Yeah.
Should have bought the new gen.
Well, boy, golly gee, Jackson, what do you think I'm trying to do?
Thanks, Mr. Warbucks. Thanks for making me feel good about myself.
Yeah.
Just don't be poor.
Are you going to help me pay for it? No? Then shut up. Then shut up.
My next 3 school payments?
Did you get yours for Christmas?
I don't know.
Yeah. He didn't even buy it.
Let me think, Jacob. Let me think. My next 3 payments for my education or an Xbox?
All I gotta say is
Xbox.
Your education is 1 more year. The Xbox is forever.
The Xbox is forever.
Actual.
Guys, Mom, I'm sorry. I'm dropping out. But yeah, that's all I got.
That's all I got on this.
Well, I guess with that, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the 1313 podcast. Please, in the comments below, let us know what you thought about this episode and what you think about the mid-batch season 2.
The mid-batch.
And follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We have Twitch as well. That might be in the description. If not, it's just 1313 podcast on Twitch.
It's gonna happen at some point.
It's gonna happen at some point. It's just every single time I want to do it, I'm either watching something, I got homework to do, or like tonight I got thumbnails and other projects I got to work on. So, and then tomorrow we got Hybrid coming into town. So,
sweet baby boy.
But, yeah. What else do we got? Patreon.
Please consider joining our Patreon.
Giveaway.
Because we not only do we have this giveaway, but with more people supporting us on Patreon, we're working on. We haven't. I've done the shopping. I've done the research. I know exactly. We're gonna upgrade the camera. After we upgrade the camera, maybe we'll do something with the microphones and get something different with that. Something different with the lighting.
All the money from your Patreon goes back into the podcast.
Yeah, we don't
know that.
Half the time, the money goes straight into the giveaways.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the giveaways and it's our subscriptions for stuff. But anyway, thank you guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Goodbye, everybody. Woo!
Hashtag make Cody great. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Hum da da hum da da hum dum dum da. Hum da da hum da da dum dum da dum da ba ba dum ba do ba dum ba do ba dum ba ba dum ba dum ba do ba dum ba do ba dum dum. Hum da dum hum da da hum dum 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 da dum hum da da hum dum dum dum. Hey, I'm da da dum da dum dum. Hum da dum da dum da dum dum. Da da ba da dum dum da ba ba da ba da.